This episode is brought to you by Superpower, and we are a paid partner. We earn a commission when you sign up through our link at partners.superpower.com/MATRX. Our typical annual physical measures 10 to 20 biomarkers. Superpower measures over 100 from a single blood draw for $199 a year. The concierge version of this costs $15,000. Same depth of data, fraction of the cost. You get a personalized action plan built on your actual biomarkers plus 24/7 access to a care team in the app. Go to partners.superpower.com/MATRX and get your $20 discount, which applies automatically at checkout. Link in the show notes. Everyone sees the brand.
But nobody sees the bills.
I'm Cindy.
And I'm Justin. And this is the Matrix Method. Okay. Welcome back to the Matrix Method podcast. Today we have very special guests. If you don't remember, my name's Justin. This is my partner, Cindy. And with us today, we have John Donovan from Velocity by MedShift. All right, so John is the VP of Technology Services at MedShift, based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we know John by our companies are referring clients back and forth. For me, I mean, that's the first sign that your company is really helping people, right? When I want to send you to all my friends to work with you. And I want to say before we get started, John, I just want to give a shout out to you and your team, Brooke and Caitlin and Francesca. And I'm sorry if I'm leaving anyone else out, but you guys are sending us new companies that need help all the time. So we have to say thank you to you guys for that.
Oh, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
And they've done a good job working with you. You guys have been great partners so far so thanks so much for having us. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
you
it.
bet. Yeah. And, the reason we wanted to have you on is to talk about some transformative technology that you guys are bringing to the table for your clients and some of our mutual clients. And the industry, when you look at the list of the companies you guys have helped, it's pretty significant. So before we get into all that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, great. Well, John Donovan, been with MedShift about almost 4 years, which has been a great 4 years. I spent about 24 years at GE Healthcare, and I had a number of different roles within GE Healthcare in the kind of capital space, the services space within GE, as well as the financial services space within GE, and the software side of our business at GE. So many different roles. Interestingly enough, our current CEO of MedShift was a boss of mine for many, many years at GE. And so one of the things you learn in your career is you go with people that you trust. And I had the opportunity. Joe called me up one day. I was getting ready to head on an anniversary trip, and my wife said, "Hey, would you like to come join me at MedShift?" He'd been there 2 months. And literally in the airport, I decided, I said, "Let me talk to my wife and I'll call you when I land." Called him when I land and said, "I'm coming," without knowing what I'm being paid, what I'm going to be doing. It was that trust level that I had with him for so many years. I've known him since he was 20 years old. So it just goes to show sometimes there are people that you follow and you trust and you believe in, and obviously things worked out well.
That's great. I love hearing about mentors like that, and partners like that. I think everyone, when you say that, everyone probably thinks that there's someone who you will always take that call, just
Absolutely.
go.
And there aren't many. There's not many, but there's a very few handful, and he's one of those. Joe is a great guy, great leader, and has transformed the culture at MedShift from kind of the startup when he got there to kind of where it is today. So exciting to see that growth as well.
That's great. So what do you do outside of work? Like when you unplug from all this technology, John, what do you do for fun?
So interestingly enough, I actually live on a farm in South Carolina. And so we have Texas Longhorn cattle. We've got horse, donkeys. And I actually spend most of my time on the weekends on a tractor. So I do a lot of hobby farming where we'll plant 3, 4, 10 acres of corn. We will plant sunflower fields for the fall. It's a lot of outdoor. We have a river, so we do a lot of outdoor. We do fishing. We do a lot of ATV riding. My son just came home from college and he's out riding right now. But that is literally what I do almost all weekend long. That's my release. I love it. And it's something that I'll always have. And when someone says, what are you ever going to do when you retire? I already know the answer is I will have plenty of hobbies and love doing it and love being in the country without having neighbors 10 feet from my house.
That's
That's
great.
incredible. That's my dream life, John.
Appreciate it. It's mine too now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Considering I live in Orange County and I have 45 square foot land,
Yeah.
not just my house, land.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
showed Justin my backyard the other day and I said, see that fence like a few steps away? That's the street. That's my neighbor. And you can see inside their house, and my neighbor there, you can see inside their house.
And then the
Yeah.
feeling we used to do that when we moved out here. It's been a whole different world. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
Cindy's yard is AstroTurf.
It is.
it's
Just
much easier to cut. Much easier to cut. Yeah.
It's true.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love your profile picture, John, by the way, of holding up the tiny fish.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
One
I
of
love
the big ones.
it. It's an art, the people that will take a fish and the way you angle it, right? It's all about the angle, right?
Yeah.
So it's so funny to have a comically tiny fish. I apologize if our hundreds of listeners are now going to follow you on your Instagram or whatever. Maybe it'll be good for your business. I don't know.
Welcome followers. It'd be great. Yeah. Since I
Okay.
just got on Facebook literally probably a year ago. So it's gonna be great.
That's
Yep.
good. All right, so let's get into what you guys are doing at Velocity. I saw a great article that you posted on your LinkedIn. The article said "Taming B2B Chaos." I thought that was a great title and a good way to sum up, what you guys do and what we're trying to do at Matrix sometimes. So tell us how are you taming the chaos for people?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about, doing business, a lot of people think of like direct to consumer as kind of the model, right? And direct to consumer typically is you get an e-commerce store and you're all set, right? You dump lots of money in, you buy some apps for an e-commerce store, it does its deal. The difficulty is, especially in the B2B world, when you start adding in sales reps, you start adding in distributors, you start adding in 1099 W-2s, all the different facets of business. Then you also have things like e-commerce where you also want your customers to self-service themselves. If you start to see, kind of around, I wouldn't say it's an aesthetics thing, that it's not a medical thing. It's just B2B in general is putting together a cohesive system that will allow you to kind of meet the customer where they want to order. Think of us and how we order with Amazon, right? Nobody calls Amazon and places an order. Everything is done, from their phones and it's done immediately. It's 2 clicks and you're done. We've kind of created that same experience within Velocity for not only sales reps, but for customers to self-service themselves and do it in a cohesive way where a rep actually wants their customer to do that. And from the standpoint of if an e-commerce order comes in, the rep knows about it. It's automatically tagged to that sales team or groups of sales folks automatically within Velocity. And then what I think as you start to think about the taming the chaos, so you got an order now, what do you do with it? So you need to send that order to the financial system. Typically what happens is somebody takes that order or they call customer service. Someone is typing in that order into a NetSuite or a QuickBooks, entering it in manually. Velocity automates that process. So we tie right into the financial systems, also ERPs as well. And then all the way through the process of fulfillment. So either we pass that order over to the 3PL or we pass that order, actually do the fulfillment within Velocity. So it's wherever you are from like a tech stack standpoint or the size of company you are, we kind of meet you where you're at. But I think the real kind of focus is so many people don't focus on when they think about their business, they're setting up all the internal things, but they forget about the order, like originates with a customer and what is that best way for the order to be inputted. Is it the customer places the order, the rep places the order? And the answer is it's both. And so I think having a system that enables easy order entry, and it's this thing that I probably see that's most commonly overlooked as you look around and you see they nail it in so many other ways, but they forget about the customer experience when they're ordering or the rep experience when they're placing orders. And there's just a mass of manual processes that take place from that standpoint until the order ships out. We eliminate all of those manual processes. So it really cuts down on the number of people let's call it a startup business or a scaling business has to hire. you can eliminate a lot of hires that you would have made in the future with going something like Velocity and streamlining those automations.
right? Yeah, because where would you say are probably the best place that, if your business is selling products, especially B2B, right? Where should you be focusing your hiring energy? Like not on developers on the back end. I mean, that should be
Right.
people making orders happen on the front end, right?
Yeah. It,
Somebody asked me about you guys. I'm here. I didn't set it up properly when we opened the show, but I'm here at the Scale conference in Nashville. So shout out to Scale and Dr. Gold, Dr. Weisman, everybody. It's cool to be here. But I was talking to somebody about what you guys do, and I said, the best application that kind of brought me to Velocity was seeing how easy it was for your reps in the field to just pull out their phone and make it happen.
yeah.
Because like you said, so many companies spend so much time untangling the back end, or we got to streamline this for logistics, and we got to make sure it communicates to shipping. And yes, all that is important. But like if your transactional take money process is hard at all, you've got a problem,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Cindy.
And I was going to say that, I mean, coming from the sales ops standpoint, there's so much time that's spent building the internal processes that we lose sight of the customer experience because a lot of companies always think about, well, what's easiest for them? What's easiest for accounting? What's easiest for a warehouse and not the customer? And it's so true when you mentioned earlier about how easy it is with Amazon. Even till now, if I have to purchase something directly from a company and there's more than a few steps for me to take to pay my credit card, I just give up. I'm like, okay, forget it. There's too many things for me to read because sometimes it's middle of the night. I'm on my phone scrolling. And the ones that have like one click to order, guess what? That's the ones I
Yep.
buy. And I think
Yep.
people are just used to that instant gratification and businesses want that instant. We see a lot of companies now coming in the space where they're trying to consolidate ordering, kind of procurement for med spas and physician practices so that there's not all these multiple vendors. And because everyone just wants one place, one person, one click to be able to place their orders. So I think what you guys are doing is actually fantastic. And we need to have all of our clients on it, you know.
And that's what, yeah. And I would say, like, just as a great point to Justin's, is like if you were to walk around Scale right now, Justin, and go to some of the clients that we have today, sales reps are the toughest people. I came from the sales side. I spent many years at GE on the sales side. Tough nuts, right? Pretty technology adverse in many ways. They just want to sell, they want it to be easy. The nice part about Velocity is from a sales rep's perspective, everything is there for them. So if you want to be able to onboard a customer, warehouse the customer's payment method for future purchases, place that first order, then all they have to do is call you, and literally an order takes like less than 30 seconds to place for that customer. The other nice thing is if that customer is one of those people that is, like you just mentioned, Cindy, that will only purchase on Amazon, that credit card that the rep placed when they onboarded that customer is now in the portal automatically when that customer logs into the portal for the first time. So it creates an experience for the customer to where you can call your rep. If you love your rep to death and you want to call them, you can call them. If you want to service yourself, the rep supports that, because the one thing that we found in kind of doing this experiment is e-commerce adoption, specifically where you have sales reps, is very, very low. And people will come up with a million different reasons why it is, but the real reason is that sales reps own the customer relationship. In the past, if a rep told a customer to go to e-commerce, that order could get lost. There's real no way. It's a manual process of mapping that order. Now, when a rep can see on their phone at midnight that my customer just placed an order, it's the greatest thing in the world. So it creates kind of a hunting and not farming mentality for the sales reps. And you see a lot of people having no problem with the reps placing orders after, because they see everything that's happening in real time. And then they're educated on what that customer purchased, when they were buying things in the off hours. So it's a nice change, and it's a great thing to see that e-commerce adoption, which ultimately also makes sales rep more efficient as well.
Like I've seen reps completely resist programs that are clunky, so they make it hard, difficult, spending too much time processing the order. But the other thing is if you don't have that transparency where the rep might be paranoid that like my order maybe not didn't get recorded or didn't get tagged to me properly, so I'm not getting my commission or as much commission because they're ordering on their own. Like you guys have solved that. I mean, I'd love to wake up to, hey, so and so ordered, and and the reps will always say, well, I want them ordering from me. Well, you want them calling you at 2 a.m.? You can still see that they ordered. You could call them first thing in the morning and say, hey, Bill, I saw you ordered sunscreen, but did you know that we have a special you could actually add on? I just dropped my computer, but uh, I would love to get an email to say, hey, Bill ordered last night, and you could still give them a call and add on to the order. Like,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Like, there's only so much you can handle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd say too, even those customers that, have traditionally gone the white glove route where it's rep only, we see many of our early customers that have now come back and added a customer self-service storefront, which is really nice because it shows now that the reps are buying into it. The companies are buying into that. And it's just easy to track the data. And really all this comes down to, as we talked about, managing the chaos, is just having the data to do things and do them efficiently and not always have to manually.
And the more that you can automate, the better it is for everyone, especially now with AI tools. And I don't know how much, and maybe that's a question for you on how is there an AI component where it looks like historical orders? Will it maybe populate a recurrent, a recurrent order based on ordering patterns, things like that that could help the rep be able to look at their past and historicals to know like, okay, are they growing? Are they declining? Where do I need to jump in? So then it's the data is there, the conversation becomes different and it becomes do I need to go save this account, add to it, grow to it instead of just looking purely by order.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reps can see their kind of their order histories today all in real time. One of the things that we do at MedShift, which I think is really, really neat, is a lot of software developers were slow to adapt to using AI, right? For using AI tools for coding and things like that. They're good at developing those things, but not great at using them. So our team is heavily invested in using AI to develop new things. So I'll give a couple of examples. We have about once a quarter, we have like an AI hackathon where all of our software developers come in and basically they come up with new ideas for Velocity. So a couple of things that we're working on now, which is really exciting. It's one AI kind of automated commissioning. So you think about the crazy complex plans that people have out, in every company's different, right? They may have some components that are the same, but there's not one that's the same. So basically being able to have an AI tool where you can take a compensation plan for a sales team, enter it in and it be able to properly set up the calculations for that plan. So something that we will have by the end of the year, which is going to be exciting. But that's just one of the examples I would say, kind of on the customer service side, being able to have kind of a customer service agent that the reps can use to do exactly what you mentioned, Cindy, which is ask insightful questions of looking at the data that's already in there and being able to say, who should I call on today or who hasn't bought in a while? So you can get that data today from Velocity, but we're trying to make it as intuitive so people can go in and just do that and give reps the insights that they need. So that's where the focus is versus like Power BI and those. All of our customers have Power BI, reps have the capabilities to get to that. We're trying to simplify it down to the standpoint of the basic things that a rep would want, we can do. And then, for example, the compensation plan is something that commercial ops and finance rip their hair out all the time, trying to create an easy way that you can develop these plans and not spend $40,000 or $50,000 every year to recode your plan. So that's
Yeah.
that's a big focus, but it's been neat to see all of the dev team focusing in on how to improve the quality of life for not only sales reps, finance teams, commercial ops teams, et cetera.
That is fantastic because I remember when my sales ops analyst would be on vacation and I had to do end of the month or end of the quarter commissions. And this is years ago. So everything is manual. I mean, kid you not, it took me one whole day of doing nothing but the
Yeah.
commissions.
Yeah.
And because
Absolutely.
everything's done on Excel, you gotta double check and check and check and make sure this and that, and oh my gosh, can you
Yeah.
imagine how much better it is now with AI?
Oh, yeah.
There's so many wasted processes and expensive hours of staff that are all running small components of this stuff that we used to do as part of the basic like admin work of our job. That I mean, now really it does free you up to sell and sell intelligently, right? You
Absolutely.
can take this data and run it across and give yourself a chat GPT route for the day for new business,
Mhm.
and you're a killer rep if you follow the program.
Oh, it's
Yeah. And that's, using AI is crucial. I mean, just the other day I did a training with a new rep, and all I did was, and AI can now populate prospects for you. So you don't even need companies that pull prospects for you, because it does it itself. I just gave it a starting point, end point. I said I need a break at this time because I have a call. I need a break at this time for lunch, and I want to see derms, plastics, and med spas. And it created the entire route, all the prospects for you. And, I think with the commissions, though, too, is very much like their whole you guys heard about that radiology example when I think even Justin mentioned it before when AI came on the scene. They were like, oh, radiologists are all going to lose their jobs because now AI can do it, but they actually were able to do more because AI was able to speed up all of the mundane tasks. And I really think for AI and what you guys are doing, it is going to free up your sales ops people to be able to do sales ops, to do analysis, to be able to look at the information and help the executives make better decisions and not spend, like I did, an entire day just working on updating an Excel worksheet. So I to make sure we paid the reps what they were supposed to be paid. And so I think that's where companies need to really be open and don't think of AI as like, oh, we're going to spend this money on AI or on a technology in hopes of cutting people. It's let's use this to enhance the productivity so that we can increase our top line revenue, not just increasing our EBITDA, right?
yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody here at Scale that their company just made a lot of painful cuts. We're seeing it a lot in the industry right now. I mean, maybe not just the industry, but all over. It's a interesting time in global geopolitics and everything else, the economy. Um, but one thing, and she's a sales director. We're all, sales and sales affiliated. We said, look, at the end of the day, we're cutting unproductivity. Like we have to be careful and make sure we're cutting wisely, but there's no room for, if the economy is tight, and it is, there's no room for people that aren't producing revenue. But the good news is we have all these tools to streamline that. And it's like a superpower for those who do. It's not going to help the rep who's lazy and isn't going to work anyway, or whatever their problem is. But like it can certainly guide the ones who are going to produce revenue for you. And that's the most important thing. If you are a revenue maker, then you're gonna be fine in this economy, right? Now we have these tools that can really help you do that. Um, so I know, John, you guys have worked with large and small companies. We mostly work with a lot of small companies and startups. I mean, a lot of them have a great product, and that's all they have right now. What advice would you give a company that's at that stage of their development?
Yeah. I mean, we actually had a customer that kind of gave us a quote at one point, and it was like, make sure you put in the piping first, right? And so if you think about these companies that are starting out, um, many of them are planning to scale, but they're not planning to scale. They're planning financially on a spreadsheet to scale, but they're not planning their business to scale in that way. And so what you typically see is just a kind of a mishmash of different things within their tech stack. Nothing talks. And what ultimately takes them over is the manual processing. So if you think about, the example we just talked about a minute ago, an order comes in, you call Jane in customer service, Jane enters it into the financial system, somebody then takes it and manually sends it over to fulfillment. And it's something you can manage when you're doing very, very little work. But as you start to think about, once you hit scale, it's too late for that. So,
Hmm.
I would say getting the piping in early, and the piping isn't expensive. And I think everybody thinks about automation and things like that as being expensive. It's not. And in fact, a lot of times it will save you significantly more money than
Yeah.
going out and buying a super high end CRM, a super high end ERP. There's places for that as you get further down kind of through the journey of from like a startup company to a scaling company to a mature company. But you don't have to do that day one. And so we see a lot of people that exhaust their funds on things that I had in my last job, right? And maybe they were at a company that was 200 million and now they're at a company that's doing 10 million. There are ways to do the exact same thing very, very efficiently. And we see people, even for example, that'll go out and spend, $100,000 and 5,000 a month on an e-commerce store, right? And so that you're solving for one little aspect of your business. You're not solving for the overall part of your business, which is you've got reps in the field taking orders from customers. You've got, hopefully e-commerce orders come in. You may have 1099s, W-2s. They're not solving that. But then the big things are the order part's great, but then the order comes in and you're starting to think about where you take out like really big costs. If you think about customer service and finance, Velocity, for example, feeds directly into the financial system. So if it's a credit card order, it'll go in and create a sales receipt. If it's a terms order, it will go in and create an invoice automatically. So nobody touches that, and it will manage that reconciliation. So you're taking time away from finance, you're taking time away from customer service or comm ops. And then you're also taking away things like commission calculation or order attribution. So always lining up every order. If you have every order lined up perfectly for what rep they are, anyone could run the commission report right on that because you've got all those orders there. You put it in a pivot table and do it. What we've also done is we line up the order attribution, but also give the ability to have commissions in real time for the sales teams that they can see instantaneously upon an order entry. So it's saving comm ops time, it's saving finance time, it's saving time of sales reps worrying about, am I getting paid or is that order linked to me? And then you have the whole piece with fulfillment of being able to send to fulfillment and then get back from fulfillment in a rep's hands, all of the tracking information on the packages, emails go to the customers to inform them when their product is shipped, when the order was entered, all of those different types of things. So the idea behind it is just taking away those manual processes that haunt all the businesses today. So that's
I
probably the
imagine,
big advice. And I would say just the automation is not expensive. It's just thinking it through. And as you're starting up, think through your tech stack and talk to people that have seen, for example, we've seen, probably 50% of the people in the aesthetic space, for example's tech stack on how they're set up. We know what works, what doesn't work. And, whether you end up with Velocity or not, we're always open to talk people through that process and walk them through kind of the proper way to set up, a good functioning, efficient kind of platform for building a business that can scale.
Yeah. And, I remember Justin because I came from the corporate side. So, leading up sales operations and, making sure the processes were all done correctly. And especially a big piece was credit cards, right? Because it's confidential, like it's a very, sensitive thing for reps to have control of. And when I first left corporate, and I was talking to Justin with some of these companies that he was working with, or that we first took on, and I said, "Well, how do you guys open accounts and how do you handle credit cards?" They're like, "Oh, just fill it out on this form." I said, "Wait, on this paper?" And then I said, "Is it a PDF? Like, is it encrypted? Is it like, no, just email it in." And I said, I mean, my mind was kind of going through my corporate, like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of maybe a small companies just, it's like a risk they'll take, or they just, maybe don't know about program, software
well,
like
it's,
what you guys have.
I, well, to John's point, once your business, I mean, all it takes is a few awesome accounts to take that from manageable to, oh,
Yeah.
this is a huge problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're having to pay 80 hours of overtime just to process these terrible orders. I can't read so and so's handwriting. Card got stolen. I've been at companies where all of that has happened,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All of that chaos happened. I was at a company where, we transitioned from a capital equipment sales only company to all of a sudden a consumables company with 5,000 customers. You talk about a sticky transition and trying to work backwards, because this what I mean, managing 15 deals in a month versus 100 a day, that's a different
Yeah.
ball game, right?
Yeah.
But I think companies need to plan for it. I mean, think about it, right?
Yeah.
As you're launching, you've got a great idea, but how are we going to, imagine you woke up with, 100 more customers tomorrow. How would you handle that?
Yep. That's a great point. And I think the nice thing is with that's probably the number one thing we see is so few customers or have previously a solution for credit cards that's compliant.
Yeah.
Um, and just the idea behind velocity is if a rep is entering in, with a customer, placing their order, they put the card in, it tokenizes immediately. So there's no paper trail or anything of their credit card information. If the customer is such that they say, I want to enter it in, you can also send them a link and they can enter in their card privately. And then you'll just see the card tokenized on the system as well. And it warehouses it for both the use on the e-commerce side of things, self-service, and then also for reps being able to place those orders. But at all time, the customer is informed. So if an order is placed, the customer receives an email. The customer receives, verification of shipping, et cetera. So they always know what's going on. And I think just the days of having Post-it notes around your car with, or a black book with credit cards is becoming a thing of the past, luckily. So
Yeah. And the technology has been around for a long time. It's just the B2B businesses, I think just haven't started or, even big
yeah,
companies, it took a while, right? It takes so many instances of something bad happening, right? You get sued, you have something stolen, what a fraud. Then they're like, okay, now we're going to spend money. But I think a lot of companies also they only know these certain companies, for their CRMs that are very expensive, and so they kinda put them off, but they don't realize, well, you can just break up that very, very expensive CRM into what each of the sections that you actually need, it's gonna be much more affordable, and that's a big it's a lot of new companies are struggling too, because even for us as a new agency, we're 5 months in, it took us a long time to outsource things. So we try to do everything ourselves, and it got to the point now between Justin and I, we are overburdened now. So it's like I finally hired a bookkeeper. I finally, hired someone to take over our technology. It's just, we're finally now to that point where I was like, okay, we can't do this ourselves anymore. And if we want to grow the business, we need to rely on other people who have the resources to be able to help. And it's really not that much when you sit down because of the additional time you're going to get back
yeah,
doing what's revenue generating. Justin and I don't need to sit there figuring out QuickBooks and how to send out an invoice, right? That's not going to grow our business. We're going to push that to somebody who knows how to do it.
yeah. It's finding the ROI and just is, for example, what we typically tell customers is for the cost of velocity, um, you base it like for what a customer service person, for example, makes, velocity will cost probably half of that.
Wow.
So if you're removing all of those other people, and I'm not saying you're getting rid of those people, they're either doing other things, or in the case of a scaling business, you're just not hiring other people.
Yeah.
And so that's the really, really nice part about that. But it's a, when you think of things like that, it is a very low or very, very high ROI. And so it's one of the few things in IT where you truly say, yes, that's got a good ROI. And so I think just that's probably the hardest part is when people see a cost, they're not thinking of what that replace or what that will allow them to do when they scale in the future. But that's
Exactly.
something that we spend a lot of time focusing on with customers. And we've got enough examples kind of across the aesthetic market now where we can point to people. And of course, in aesthetics, everybody knows everybody. So it's easy to get those references now for people to verify that, yes, that is the case. So,
Yeah, I'm since we started Matrix, I wasn't that familiar too with the fractional leadership uh, available in our space. And you can even, this is for the new companies or even, I mean, I know we have independent reps out there now who are thinking of product ideas for the future. Like I'm at, shows now, there's new companies popping up every time, even in kind of a slower economy. I'm amazed that, I mean, you can get a fractional CFO to help design your architecture, and it's
mhm,
not that
yeah,
much and will save you a fortune
Hmm.
later. Get a fractional CFO, get a fractional CMO from somebody on our team, brand strategist like Cindy. I can help you put your sales team together and let's bootstrap this. And it's not that expensive to do or
Yeah.
that time consuming. You can bill it out by the hour and build your architecture and go to market,
I mean,
right?
think about how much companies are spending when they're hiring a senior level, like, VP, executive, or C level, and things don't work out. How much money they spend on severance and all of that, attached to it to move on, where they can now just hire people to come in and do certain things. And that's the agreement. It's like, no, I'm going to give you 10 hours a month or 20 hours a week, whatever it is to build the company.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Build the workshop and then you can staff it with all the best else.
That's right.
exactly.
That's right. That's right.
So, John, with MedShift, I mean, I know every company is going to be different, but there's kind of just overall, as far as like, we kept talking about pricing and affordability. Like, is it typically by seat? Is it a subscription? Like, just so people have an idea of what they can expect when they contact you.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, yeah, no, we do not. One of our kind of, if we built velocity, the things we thought through, if you look at a lot of like CRMs or ERP systems that have seats. What happens when things get bad, right? People do away with seats and
Hmm.
then they do better and they add seats back. The idea that when we built Velocity was we want everyone to use it, right? Within the organization. So typically within an organization, finance, commercial operations, sales, fulfillment, everybody is in Velocity and uses Velocity on a regular basis. So we do not charge seat licenses. And typically, the easiest way to do it is figuring out, we kind of have modules within Velocity. So we price it out kind of by modules. Do you need commission? Are you going to be doing fulfillment? Are you going to be doing subscriptions? And we do it that way. What we typically tell people is for what it takes to, and a good example is to go build a Shopify store and get the B2B, any B2B tools on it at all, that's what Velocity costs. The
Hmm.
other piece of it is the integration side of it. So not only do we look at it and we help people, for example, build out a good workflow for, sales through fulfillment, but we also know too that customers, especially customers that are kind of mid growth or mature, they're going to want to tie in their CRM as well. So they want to do their opportunity management in their CRM. When that customer is ready to buy, it comes over to Velocity, populates Velocity. Maybe they have an MPI number that needed to be verified. You can do that in Velocity or the CRM,
Hmm.
but they talk. And then what you want to be able to do is send that over to the financial system. So we work with a number of different, ERPs, CRMs to tie in that data so that we kind of complete that loop. But the most important thing in doing that is thinking about the data integrity side of it. And so it's
Yes.
keeping your data clean. If you have clean data from the beginning, your data stays clean. But if you create a mess and you build up over time, that mess just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and a bigger project when that time comes. So yeah, I would say the efficiency back to that, I would say the range, if you think about building out an e-commerce store, not even the building it part, just the monthly. So
Hmm.
we do just a monthly subscription plan. And then depending on what other additional work we kind of scope with the customer, if they want to connect into CRM, ERP, or if they want a storefront that we're going to build out for them, we bring all that into one kind of build at the beginning and create an SOW for that. But it's very, very affordable from the standpoint of you could do all of that for less than you could go build out a storefront, off the shelf, right?
Wow.
But for those people that have done that and have spent a fortune, for example, on Shopify, and we have Shopify, but you can really spend a lot of money at Shopify, as we found out too. We also we created an app for Shopify that does a lot of the features of Velocity that lives within the Shopify environment. So we're kind of meeting customers where they are. If they've already got Shopify, they're doing well, they can get started with our Shopify app and then transition into Velocity. Or for the company that's just starting out, has nothing, or has another e-commerce type of store, we can go the Velocity route. So it's a really nice kind of option. And we did that just to be able to kind of meet customers where they are and then help them scale, but be there for them when they're ready to take that jump into all the integrations and things like that.
Love that, because I think what you're doing on the technology side is what we're doing, overall, which is filling in the gap wherever the customer needs it and
Yeah.
adapt to it. Yeah, that's
No, that's
great.
great. I'm glad you said that because we get it all the time. We'll reach out to somebody and they say, I've already got a CRM and I already have an ERP. And then the thing, when you really dig into it, it really doesn't, they're not communicating with each other.
Yep.
And they've missed a lot of different portions there. So we kind of fit that gap in between what you would consider your internal tech stack. And we are the customer facing, the order management, all the way into the financial system and into the CRM. So we actually get in that world, but we're that kind of that forward facing customer experience from both an internal customer and the reps and then the customers themselves. So thanks for filling the gaps, because
Yeah.
I use that a lot with customers.
Yeah. And so what if you can you give an example of what is your like smallest size customer and what your largest size customer, so people have an idea of kind of.
Yeah, I mean, just so we have companies that are zero revenue. Um, so
Brand
they're
new.
zero revenue, and it goes back to that philosophy. And we've actually had 4 customers, $0. And the idea behind it is we're building in the pipes, like I talked about.
Mhm.
It's like they come in and realize our true plan is to grow and scale. We're going to put in the infrastructure that allows us to not have to hire a lot of people. And if you look at some of those customers that we've gone with, many of them are now very, very big companies. So not only is Velocity great for that startup because it does create an all-in-one solution, you don't have to go find a fulfillment system. You don't have to go find a mapping system to be able to map and send all of the orders to the right reps. You don't have to have a storefront because we do the storefront as well. And then we give the reps tools to be efficient from day one. And then we connect to the existing tech stack. So really those folks that come in and start from the beginning don't accumulate unneeded people and manual processes. And so I think that's where, I would say Velocity, we have companies that are 200 million using sales reps, and we have companies that are zero. And then we've got a bunch of companies in between. And so that's what's really neat to see is though a company may mature and start out with, I'll just use QuickBooks, for example, because that's who everybody starts out with when they start out. And let's say we've had 3 customers this year that have gone to NetSuite. So they've matured as companies, they're now building up, and all we don't change anything. We just change where we're pointing the data going to. So from now we're not going to QuickBooks anymore. We're going to NetSuite. Then they
Mm.
get a CRM and we add into their CRM. So it's kind of the part of the tech stack where we see with a lot of our customers where it's the one that stays with you. And it's just because our primary focus is focusing on that front end experience for the customers and for the reps and making very efficient use of orders. And it's the order to cash thing. The quicker you process a payment, quicker it's in your bank account, the better it is for the organization. And way too many organizations, as you guys know, have a onboarding process that could take a couple of days, right? So your
Mhm.
customer can't order until they've gone through this long process. Who's to say they're going to be ready to order, 5 days from now? So that's the idea behind it, of just kind of speeding up that order to cash process and then holding the information from the customer to be used internally. And I don't mean credit card information, but just different demographics about the customer that you can use to run reports for internal purposes, but then also for the customers to be able to have that Amazon like experience where they can go into their e-commerce store for the first time and check out and their card's already in there. So Yeah, all different sizes. So it's really kind of a fit for all.
That's great.
I think of, for a company that's growing, or maybe you're having a temporary reduction in your force right now, like continuity with your customers is so important. You should not change the customer's experience at all if their rep leaves. You hire a second rep for that territory. You had a reduction in force, whatever it may be. Like that should not change the way all of these other processes flow.
Yeah,
Like I mean, there's some people that the rep leaves, all the business goes with them.
yeah,
You don't
yeah,
want to be that company, right? You want to be that rep that made your mark, and then hey, you move on to something else. Great, you still have your relationships, and the company has everything they worked for too.
yeah. And then even for the smaller companies that don't have CRMs and things like that, or efficient use of CRMs, they go into Velocity and they see all the order histories, right? So they can go in there and see all the order histories for those customers. They can see all of the customers that are in their territory right from the beginning. So they kind of already have that map and that guidance versus having to dig into a CRM that may or may not have good data and try to find their way. And as much as you hate to admit it, people will go buy CRMs and the reps run their business on a spreadsheet.
Yep. Yep.
Oh yeah, there's
That's
always there's the data you capture, and then there's the data you don't capture.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
There's a
So
lot of it.
And that's where
absolutely.
everyone's always butting heads because, reps don't want to spend it. They want to keep track of the information, but they don't want to spend time on all the excess stuff. And the company, though, kind of needs that information sometimes. So it's like there is a way to get it all, but just make it as streamlined for the rep and for the customer.
Absolutely.
Well, it's simple. It's simple as when you have rep compliance problems, right?
Hmm.
It sounds like just a corporate bureaucrat term, rep compliance, right? Just simply tie it to their commission, and they'll be very excited to work with it,
Yeah. Oh,
Very
yeah.
right?
true.
If you're waking up and Velocity has sent you 6 alerts that you've made money in your sleep, that's gonna be my favorite app,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Uh,
Get some quotes while you're at the show while you're there.
yeah, for real, right? I'm a believer, clearly. What So, John, let's say you've got your phone even when you leave for the weekend. What's technology? What is some technology we should be aware of that you personally can't live without?
Well, so I was maybe a slow adopter to uh, AI. Maybe it's my age, who knows, whatever. But I would say what I cannot live without, both at home on the farm or at work, is ChatGPT and Claude. So literally, I probably use it 25 times a day, trying to figure out business problems, challenges, questions from customers. Um, I use it for farming.
Hmm.
Strangely enough, unbelievable in giving advice on how to plant certain things. So I would say for me, it is amazing the number of people that still do not use that. I mean, it's fabulous, but I would say where I'm seeing the real excitement is now. If you go in and you say, I want to find that a commission app in Shopify. Like if you do it on Claude, we have customers that's how they're finding us. So
Hmm.
that's why it's my new favorite is we're just seeing that transition from kind of the AI search optimization side of things is making an unbelievable difference. And so we not only use our own team, but we've kind of hired an outside group to do that and to help us kind of on that journey. But when you start to see it happen, it's amazing. And so it actually just makes me more of a believer. But to me, that's very basic for our devs. It's all of the other, AI, different ways to code or different tools for coding. But for me, it's just the things I used to spend hours on, I can do in minutes now. And so I would say it's just made me unbelievably efficient. And anyone that's not doing it should be doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the guy that's helping us with our, sites and all of that, he's actually going to be in the podcast that's coming up this Monday, so that's exactly what he does. His name is Dan Grams, he comes from e-commerce, and he specifically helps companies build out AI agents to handle the work, and also what is it's not SEO optimization, it's the AI
GEO,
or something.
GEO, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, it's like
but
optimizing for
for
intelligence.
chat, yeah, for the
Yep.
LLM, so that you
Yep.
are shown higher as recommendations and all of that.
Yeah.
It's
It's
really
amazing.
fascinating. We're definitely in a new era now, because all of the things that used to work in the past is not going to be the same anymore. And I did some contract work with a AI research lab, and so and it's interesting because they will use people from every single occupation doing the work. And so when people are wondering, how does AI know all this? It's like, well, it's taking the data and the work from hundreds of people and the work that they've produced, and it's now consolidating them into something quick and easy. And my husband he builds race bikes, motorcycle race bikes for a living. And so he was playing around with it. It's funny because I thought of this when you were talking about farming, but he started putting, and a lot of what he does is all specs, right? So when you're building a motorcycle for racing, it's all about specs. So he would run it through AI, and he's like, wow. He was actually shocked how well it was. And he actually decided to try something that AI had told him, and it actually turned out really good in
Yeah.
whatever the
Yeah.
settings are. Yeah, but also you do still have to have some kind of, innate knowledge to understand what it is. I mean, if I could run something on how to build out a farm and I don't have some of that foundational knowledge, my farm would not turn out as great as your farm.
You have to get past the AstroTurf first, and then
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't
I need
you
real
can't plant
I
more.
need real dirt.
yeah.
I know. Well, it's because we're in California. There's droughts, and they give you credits for putting in AstroTurf, so you're using less water. I mean,
Very true.
it's
Yeah, you
California.
don't. I mean, I saw you had a sprinkler out there. Why?
We do. Well, I have like a small narrow strip for some, blueberry bushes and some fruit
Oh, okay.
trees. Yeah, our little strip.
So you're not watering it. That's good.
Yeah, no, we're not watering the AstroTurf. We hose it off when we clean up
This is
dog
out there
poop.
for fun. Yeah,
Yeah. But now
that's
I
great.
do regret putting it in, because I didn't realize, and I don't know why I didn't think of it, was AstroTurf is made out of plastic. And so it's actually, when you think about microplastics and exposure, and my dogs are out there all the time laying in the sun, like, oh,
Yeah,
do we go back and now take it out? I don't know.
you got to go natural. It's bad for your knees too. I
Ugh,
think
I
you're
know.
out there playing the yard ball out there.
Yeah, we don't go out there much.
You guys have all the parks and the trails and all that good stuff.
We do. I think I mean, people in California, I think we are rarely home. We're usually outside anyways. Yeah.
Right. Are there any other trends before we sign off? Anything we should keep our eyes on in the tech and the ERP type space, John? Anything we should
I mean,
watch?
I would just say it's I still am a believer that I think that kind of best in class is the best. I think there's not really anyone that does everything perfectly, kind of in that ERP world, in the CRM world. Um, I still think today, for those companies that have tried that, they still become the master of what they originally started in, but it's still not there yet. And I think a lot of people say, well, I'm going to go with brand X ERP because they have a CRM and they have an e-commerce store. What we typically see is people that do that come away from it. So we probably deal with every other or every third customer that we talk to is still, and it may or may not have anything to do with velocity. It's just they're kind of leaving that path where they've invested a huge amount of money in a singular solution. And I think the world is easy enough right now to integrate any good systems together. It's just doing it in the right way. And I think that's where, just guidance from folks comes in, help with that. So you can have the best of both worlds. They all still talk with one another, and it's okay. And it's not expensive to do that.
Yeah. That's great.
That's right. So for our independent consultants, our clients in the small business space, where can they go to find more about Velocity?
Yeah, you can go to velocity.medshift.com, or you can reach out to us. You can reach out straight from the website, or you can reach out to anyone on the MedShift team via LinkedIn. And what I'd say is, if you're just even curious on, or if you have business challenges, we're not, when we come in and we talk to customers and clients, what we're basically doing is consulting, right? So if at a minimum you want to see some free consulting of how many others in the industry have kind of become successful in kind of integrating their systems, whether it includes velocity or not, we can help do that and kind of show that. So it's worth seeing, a demo letting you show you what architecture looks like. 30 minutes isn't going to kill you, and it'll probably be pretty worth your time just to kind of take a look and see and ask some questions.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll vouch for that. I did a velocity demo with you guys. Didn't buy it, but I recommend it every day.
Yeah, and
It
very
was a
few of
great
our
way to
customers
see how
buy it the
different-
first time. Yeah, it's you don't buy it. Like, what happens is you come see it, you go into the real world, your business starts to grow, you start to see the problems that we talk about and that you experience. And that's when customers usually come back and say, okay, now I know what you're talking about. And we've had some of our longest standing customers that we have in the aesthetic space. They told us no a handful of times, and they came back because it's showing them the solution. And then when you run into those problems, you have a place to get that solution.
Yeah.
So,
Wonderful.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. Well,
well, we
hopefully it wasn't
appreciate
too noisy out here when the party let out here, but shout out from all the folks at Scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we really appreciate you guys having us on here. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining. And we'll make sure to include the website and on our show notes. So thank
Great.
you, John and
Yeah.
Justin.
Thank you
Have
all.
a great time at Scale.
Thanks, Cindy. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate it.